From the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast, this is AgDay.
The U.S. economy continues to churn,
with the possibility of the economy growing faster than we currently anticipate.
but for farmers,
We just got to the point where something has to give.
in agribusiness, the soybean sell-off,
This number, though, is just that. Are we trading a number?
and summertime safety for kids on the move.
AgDay, presented by the Chevy Silverado. High-strength steel for high-strength dependability.
Good morning, I'm Clinton Griffiths. Despite turmoil in global trade and in the grain markets, the head of the Federal Reserve says the overall picture of the U.S. economy is positive. Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell giving Congress an upbeat assessment of the economy and expects to keep raising interest rates gradually. In his semi-annual testimony to Congress, Powell says solid job gains and solid economic growth has enabled the Fed to dial back the extra boost it implemented during the financial crisis and recession during the Obama administration. Still, Powell says there are some unknowns stemming from trade tariffs.
It is difficult to predict the ultimate outcome of current discussions over trade policy, as well as the size and timing of the economic effects of the recent changes in fiscal policy. Overall, we see the risk of the economy unexpectedly weakening as roughly balanced with the possibility of the economy growing faster than we currently anticipate.
Powell says that the Fed's process for slowly raising interest rates has been running smoothly. He says the Fed expects the job market to remain strong and inflation to stay near 2% over the next several years. Now, for farmers, higher interest rates mean a higher cost for working capital, including an increase in collateral.
It's really hard to solve the collateral side of things because you can only use what collateral you have, and some people have exhausted working capital that they've had. They went through it all, burned it out, and then for collateral it's the same thing. And then you get to where bankers are extending, our level for loan to value was 75%. Okay, well, we're going to go up to 80 or whatever that percentage is, but it gets to the point where board of directors comes in and says enough is enough, and unfortunately I'm starting to see that in a lot of areas. We've just got to the point where something has to give.
Arrington saying she's seeing some recovery, but not everywhere. Most of it has been in the southeast due to last year's excellent peanut crop and higher cotton prices. Union Pacific Rail CEO Lance Fritz says trade disruptions are threatening to undermine an otherwise robust economy. The rail company telling the Omaha World Herald that the current trade disruption, specifically NAFTA negotiations, are harming U.S. railways. About 40% of Union Pacific traffic originates or ends outside of the U.S. The railroad handles 70% of the business going in and out of Mexico. Now, on the overall economy, Fritz says recent trade policies are creating uncertainty that's going to cause capital investment to slow down. Japan and the European Union signing a trade agreement Tuesday that lowers barriers on shipments of goods and services between those two economies. The trade pact removes many regulatory obstacles between the EU and Japan, helping Japanese car exports and making it easier for European farmers to sell their produce in the Asian nation. Now, the deal has been under negotiation since 2013.
Together, we are making, by signing this agreement, a statement about the future of free and fair trade. We are showing that we are stronger and better off when we work together.
The European Commission says exporters will see most of the Japanese duties removed, benefiting producers of cheese, wine, beef, and pork. In Washington, Iowa's congressional delegation hoping to start fresh with the current acting administrator of the EPA. The legislative team inviting Administrator Andrew Wheeler to Iowa to meet those impacted by the renewable fuel standard. In a letter to Wheeler, the delegation expressing concern regarding the number of small refinery hardship waivers and asking that those lost or waived RFS obligations be accounted for. The note saying 2.25 billion gallons of demand were destroyed between 2016 and 17, and the EPA just recently released a proposed 2019 rule that does not move the lost gallons forward. They'd like that to be reconsidered. And as Todd Gleason with the University of Illinois reports, that biofuels proposal may give the agency authority Congress did not intend.
No way, no how are we going to listen to anybody and we're just going to charge ahead. I'm not sure that they will be able to make that hold.
The EPA believes it has the right to grant small refinery waivers without reallocating those gallons. It has already granted some 1.5 billion gallons worth of ethanol waivers. In this way, it's capable of creating rules that meet the legal requirements of the RFS, but then allow it not to be met via a loophole. Whether that loophole remains open is a political and legal question with big ramifications.
That's an interesting question. If the zero reallocation holds, then this will be a major defeat for the ag interest and Senator Grassley, because we will have gone to a situation where the small refinery exemptions function effectively as a form of general waiver authority for the EPA to roll back the mandates.
Clearly, Irwin goes on to say, Congress did not explicitly give that authority to the EPA. His view is that it will be challenged in court, if necessary, and then thrown out. For University of Illinois Extension, I'm Todd Gleason.
Kansas farmers are now allowed to cut hay and graze on CRP acres in response to drought conditions. The Kansas Farm Service Agency just announcing that 43 of 105 Kansas counties are authorized for emergency use of the land. The grazing runs through September, but haying will only last until mid-August. This emergency use does not include CP 25 acres. FSA says farmers will not see a rental payment reduction for using the land. Mike Hoffman joining us now to look at cotton country, and he's got today's crop comments. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning, Clinton. The crop comment today comes from Elise Kalk in Leedy, Oklahoma. Elise says cotton is looking good so far in her area. However, that's not the case everywhere. USDA says only 16% of the state's cotton crop is rated good to excellent. Out of the top 15 cotton producing states, only 41% is rated in the good to excellent category. And taking a look at the wind speed forecast, you can see a little bit of wind, Central Plains as we start the day today. Overall, though, not a very windy 36 hours coming up. A little bit more wind in the northern Rockies as we head through this afternoon. And you can see heading into the day tomorrow, very little in the way of wind to start the day. Heading through the day then, a little bit windier with that system moving through the northern plains and back into Wyoming. We'll talk more about your forecast coming up, but first here are some hometown temps.
Keeping track of the shifting market prices has never been so easy. Get the latest commodity prices sent directly to your cell phone with market updates. Just text MARKETS8 to 31313 to get started.
When we come back, we'll look at recent soybean market trends with Steve Georgie of Allendale. He's over at the Agribusiness Desk. And if your kids love spending time outdoors, we have some safety tips for kids rolling through summer. In agribusiness, grains go green, livestock dip red. Let's find out why from our friends on the floor.
Corn up 6.5 cents or so here today. Beans up 10, 11 cents. Wheat up 14 or 15 cents. So really some strength across the board. Green on the board. It's not something we see very often here recently in the grains. But you know, we had crop conditions yesterday, and conditions declined a bit more than what we were expecting in corn and soybeans. That is adding some support to the market. And with conditions coming down, that's making some of the bears question themselves a little bit. So we are getting a bit of a corrective bounce. From a technical perspective, you know, this is the second reversal we've had in both corn and soybeans in the last 10 trading sessions or so. When you look at the weather forecast, there's nothing to get too terribly excited about weather-wise, at least for the time being, and that might keep things a little bit in check for now. This is Ted Seifert from Zaner Ag Hedge coming to you from the CME floor.
Joining me at the Agribusiness Desk, I have Steve Georgie, Allendale Incorporated. All right, Steve, as we look at the soybean market, we got fresh data about a week ago from USDA, and that wasn't really as, I mean, corn was a decently bullish number if you look at the fundamental aspect of it. Beans, not so much.
No, beans definitely not. When you look at what they did, we were sitting at 380 million. Now they've jumped it up to 570, 580. I mean, this number though is just that. Are we trading a number?
Yeah.
And when you look at what corn is, we're not trading anywhere where we need to be. But for beans now, you can almost justify with this massive number now for beans. Have they overdone that now? You know, they slashed exports quite a bit on this past report. Is that going to remain where it is? We've seen great exports for soybeans.
Absolutely we have.
And so the demand has been there up until this point. And so when you look at that with good weather, the idea that we're probably going to see better than expected yields this year, you still have this negative momentum still looming in this market that is still pushing us to levels where it hurts, way below production.
Right.
But it's still at a point where it probably is undervalued. But when you look at what USDA told us and we look at the numbers themselves, it now has become less bullish or less friendly if we look at these raw data.
Right.
And so I still feel there's hope. There's still going to be some opportunities out of beans. We just need to take those as we are. No one's going to be selling here at this level. You're not going to find guys making sales. And if you do, if you have to, look at trying to find a way to re-own them on the board.
Okay.
Maintain ownership if you're making sales right now.
Yeah.
And so find a way to do that. But we need to get through this tariff talk first.
Yeah, as we go through that tariff talk, we know that China is looking to Brazil to buy beans, but at some point Brazil runs out of beans, right?
Yes.
And then we're the biggest player in this market. Somebody's going to come buy us, and the prices are going to be attractive to buyers. So I don't know. It just seems like it feels like USDA moved that number a lot, but we don't know necessarily that those exports are going to fall off completely.
We are severely discounted right now versus Brazil, but should we be at that number versus the tariff now that is put on us? Looking at specifically on China. I do feel, however, that there is an opportunity. We probably aren't going to be as bad as what the market is making it feel like right now.
Okay, a lot of emotion
and so,
there.
Ton of emotion. That's not going to go away here over the next several months.
All right, well, we'll keep an eye on it. Thank you. We'll be back with more Ag Day in just a minute.
To talk to Steve Georgie one-on-one, call Allendale Incorporated at 800-262-7538 or head online to allendale-inc.com.
Welcome back to Ag Day. Your meteorologist Mike Hoffman looking at the root zone moisture map, and that bullseye right there in northern Missouri, pretty tough.
I know, and you kind of watch the radar and you see some rain go through there, but it just ends up not being enough to really get them out of this dry spell. And this root zone moisture map comes directly from a NASA satellite, so it is really up to date. It keeps us up to date. You can see another area of concern is the increasing dryness in many parts of the Carolinas, especially the eastern Carolinas. Western sections in the Appalachians, though, a little bit on the wet side there. A little bit wet there in parts of the upper Midwest, and look at the change in the Southwest. Those areas were red a few weeks ago, turning blue as that monsoon moisture gets involved with the systems there. And that's all going to every afternoon. You will see some showers and thunderstorms bubble up in those areas. Other than that, we're watching two systems. This is the main one that's going to help the Corn Belt get some moisture in many places. This could be good news for Missouri, we're hoping, and some of those drier areas in parts of the I-80 corridor heading farther east. Also this area of low pressure along the Gulf Coast, kind of a slow mover. Those areas will continue to get showers and storms. So let's put the maps into motion. As we head through the day today, you can see the showers and storms will continue ahead of this warm front from western North Dakota all the way down into the Kansas City area. Hit and miss showers and thunderstorms in the southeast and a little bit in the southwest. Not as much as you've seen several days over the past couple of weeks. Then you can see tomorrow morning still maybe a complex of thunderstorms. You can get that ahead of a warm front. They're nocturnal thunderstorms that develop, and those can put down widespread soaking rain. So we'll have to watch that. And that area of low pressure moving northeast finally into the panhandle of Florida as we head through tomorrow afternoon. But still a good chance there, northern Missouri northward, for showers and thunderstorms close to this warm front, and that will extend all the way into the southeast as well. There's the precipitation estimate over the past 24 hours, adding in the next 36. You can see the focus is mainly that warm front, with some areas getting some pretty decent rains and some of the areas in the southeast getting some pretty heavy rains in spots as well, wherever those big thunderstorms occur. Triple digits, high temperatures again today, parts of Oklahoma and Texas, more comfortable, Great Lakes in the northeast. Low temperatures tonight going to drop off into the 50s in many parts of the Great Lakes, still 70s from the middle plains southward, and the heat continues southern plains tomorrow, but it does cool off a little bit in parts of the northern plains. There's the jet stream, and you can see the second trough. That's the one that could bring a lot of moisture. It's a slow mover as well through the Great Lakes over the weekend. Another trough digging in to bring more cool air to the Corn Belt as we head into next week. That's a look across the country. Now let's take a look at some local forecasts. Heading to Vancouver, Washington, first of all, pleasant mix of sun and clouds, high temperature of 79. Carthage, Missouri, partly sunny, a thunderstorm in some areas, high of 92. And Scranton, Pennsylvania, sunny and more comfortable today, high around 79.
We'll talk produce thanks to our corporate cousins over at the Packer. That's next, coming up on Ag Day. And later, two-wheeler safety this summer and what steps a parent can take to keep the riders upright. From our partners at the Packer, USDA Ag Secretary Sonny Perdue announcing agricultural producers impacted by hurricanes and wildfires in 2017 may now apply for assistance to help recover and rebuild their farming operations. That includes citrus and produce growers along the Gulf Coast. The program was authorized by Congress earlier this year, USDA offering $2 billion in disaster funding for eligible farms. Sign-up is underway and will continue through November 16th of 2018. Meanwhile, in California, the 2018 wildfire season already on track to surpass last year. The drought monitor showing the situation worsening in the Golden State. More than 85% of California is abnormally dry. That's up from 22% at the start of the water year back in September. Drought now covers 44% of the state. In 2017, 46 people died, 1.3 million acres were burned, and billions of dollars in homes and businesses consumed. Now, California spent a whopping $759 million fighting wildfires, and so far in 2018, fires surpassing the 2017 number compared to the same point in the year. And the USDA says orange production is going to be lower in California and Texas this season. It's forecast a 1% drop in the Golden State compared to expectations from back in June, and 11% lower in Texas, although for the year, Texas is expected to produce a third more oranges than last year. Cherry growers near the Great Lakes may benefit from using high tunnels to protect their crops. Cornell University researchers studied the benefits of setting up tall temporary greenhouses that reach up and over cherry trees. Now, growers, like in Michigan and New York, face extreme temperatures in the winter and summer. Cornell says if the producers can avoid those risks, they stand to cash in. Cornell says growers could double their long-term net return per acre by using high tunnels. Trees grown in such tunnels tend to produce bigger fruit, and that fruit matures faster than it would if it were grown in an open field. Earlier arriving fruit means getting a jump over the competition. Preventing injuries can be as easy as riding a bike. Up next, a new study shows just how many children are injured on their bikes and what parents can do to keep them safe.
In the country, brought to you by Kubota. See the all-new Commander Pro zero-turn mower at Kubota.com or visit your local Kubota dealer today.
If your kids are not showing or competing at the fair right now, chances are they're spending some of their day on a bicycle. And whether it's a county road or a city street, bike riders need to think safety. In this report provided by Nationwide Children's Hospital, Barb Consiglio gives us some safety tips.
Most kids are having too much fun on their bikes to worry about getting hurt, but a new study by the Center for Injury Research and Policy at Nationwide Children's Hospital reveals that about 2.2 million children were treated in U.S. emergency departments for bicycle-related injuries over a 10-year period. That's about 25 every hour.
The good news is that that number was a decrease over that time period.
Dr. Lara McKenzie led the study and says even though injuries have declined, too many children are still being seriously hurt on their bikes. In fact, 11% of kids treated in emergency departments for bike-related injuries had traumatic brain injuries. McKenzie says the best tool to reduce your child's risk is a helmet.
When kids were wearing a helmet and there was a bike-related injury, they were less likely to be hospitalized and less likely to have a traumatic brain injury.
She says parents should shop for a helmet with their child so they can pick one their child wants to wear.
And then from there, you're really looking to make sure their helmet has a good fit.
Side straps should form a V around the ears, the chin strap should be snug, and there should be a space the width of 2 fingers between the eyebrows and the edge of the helmet. But before your child pedals off, make sure they also know the rules of the road, especially if they're riding in the street.
When a motor vehicle was involved, either stationary or moving, there was more likely a chance that a child is going to get a traumatic brain injury or be hospitalized. So those are definitely more serious injuries.
McKenzie also encourages municipalities to create dedicated bike lanes and provide educational programs to help kids stay safe and be better prepared for the road ahead. At Nationwide Children's Hospital, this is Barb Consiglio reporting.
Thanks, Barb. Experts are also calling on states to enact laws requiring children to wear helmets while riding a bike, encouraging municipalities to create dedicated bike lanes and provide educational programs to help kids stay safe. Research shows that these laws are effective in increasing helmet use, yet only 21 states currently have one in place. That's all the time we have this morning. We're sure glad you tuned in. It's been part of your day with us. From all of us here at AgDay, I'm Clinton Griffiths. Have a great day.